You ever boot up a game and see the logo in old friends? I don't know, man. There was a time in the world where seeing a certain game company's logo was a mark of quality instead of a reason to let out a hefty sigh. Kids react to the era where Konami was cool and not hated by every one of their fan bases. What I'm trying to say is that starting Air Combat and seeing just the thick old Namco logo instead of that bastard of a Bamco one took me back to a better time. Anyways, enough of the lead buried. Air Combat is what you might more informally know as the first Ace Combat game, the start of the long combat flight sim series. I have not played any of the Ace Combat games, but I hear they're quite good. And if I'm being honest, starting with Air Combat didn't sell me on a high quality long running series. This game is by no means bad, but I had a friend call it a proof of concept, and that reads as real accurate. Air Combat kind of feels like a half-step evolution from an arcade release. It's just a little bigger than what you would expect standing at the arcade cabinet, but this is also 1995, so it still looks a little behind the times as an early console offering to what an arcade release would have been able to kick out. I kind of can't glaze over this. Air Combat is graphically compromised. You are primarily flying by systems because the amount of world detail is rarely more than some flat textures on a full screen color gradient. That doesn't inherently kill the game. Unless you're talking about the one stage that takes place during nighttime and is nearly impossible to see anything. But there is a desire for more presentation that the game just can't offer. The most interesting stages have some real estate attached to them, where you actually get buildings, oil refineries, naval docks, or what have you. Not every stage is able to pull that off. You get 2 stages where you have to snake through a trench, and this is the only time we get a fully built level to fly through, and while very slight, these are 2 of my favorite missions. If you can ignore the occasional feeling that you are flying into nothingness, Air Combat works very well. I don't really deal with flight games like this, so I can't comment too much on the control of the planes, but I find the play of Air Combat to be perfectly serviceable with flashes of brilliance. Combat is twofold. You have a machine gun that I was able to effectively use literally once, and lock-on missiles. These are really your only 2 verbs in the world. You need to get within 1,000 units of a target to lock on a missile, of which you can only fire 2 at a time. You have a variety of planes you can choose for any mission, but I never felt a huge difference between them. Like, what's the difference between offense and power? The most noticeable attribute is your stealth bombers, who apparently won't show up on the enemy radar. I'm taking their word for it. This boils down gameplay into 17 missions of, how can I fire 2 missiles at something? I'm not going to criticize the missions themselves because they all have a variety of simple objectives to try and frame each level differently. But after a while, you realize every question has an answer, and that answer is, I need to lock on and fire 2 missiles. But as I said, there are flashes of brilliance. When you get into a dogfight and you're turning your fighter jet around and you do a barrel roll to change positioning to keep a lock on your enemy, you feel it. That special whoa moment of just how cool soaring through the air taking out bogeys is. Air Combat is by no means a bad game, but I think it kind of washed over me until I did that barrel roll technique. That's when I feel locked in. There really isn't too much more to say about Air Combat. I think there's a certain Namco arcadey charm that comes across in the presentation and the music. The scoring UI and the kinda cheesy guitar shredding place you in a time frame that feels a little old for 95, but as mentioned above, proof of concept is a real accurate way to describe this game. I would still recommend playing it, mainly because it's not very long and can be banged out in a couple sittings, but I am more excited for getting to Ace Combat 2 and 3, where I've been told this series really takes off.